have to go to a break. We are now at the halfway point of the competition. So when we return, we start.
So Virgo, Golden, Ozone, they're going to be the cutoff point.
Yeah, and eliminations playing the role again. Even Golden Ozone tied at 131 with Aoxy and Jojo Fishy, but they're beating them out through eliminations in the tiebreaker. The second half of the day is here, and we'll see how it shakes out with Game 5.
This is where teams, hey, we're on the same page here, Twin, okay? You understand. You're picking up what I'm putting down. It's just the fact that Golden and Ozone and Shadow Virgo, the real separating factor currently is that they've been able to find at least one or two, if not more, eliminations per match as Agers opens the door with a big elimination onto Jojo Fishy and Aoxy. You better hope that he's not next because they can't afford to be eliminated this early.
You know what that is right there. You know what that play is right now, right? Agers landing over on this side of the map. This is Agers taking out his competition before the final game. Aoxy and Jojo Fishy are one of them. Agers and Ritual are uncontested, so that's a different game plan for the second half. And already that's putting them in a little bit of a tough spot because Golden, fresh off of the respawn, spotted out by Cooper, but no advancement in that direction from Cooper. He's just simply trying to get damage or possible eliminations and everybody getting rebooted out of the sky.
We'll get a chance to even look back, see what went wrong here for Shadow. He's just not getting the opportunity. Pollo, just too accurate. Peterbot following it up after the fact. Now they've both gotten individual elims here off onto Shadow, and Virgo is just stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's trying to avoid line of sight from Peterbot and Pollo as he looks to try and escape. Buy his duo a little bit of time, but Pete is just having none of it. Looking right back up, looking to chase Shadow one more time.
Yeah, with Agers going after Ozone and now Pete going after Shadow. It's both of our bubble teams here facing danger in battles early on, but a little bit more help going on over in this direction as Pollo comes in. They get the elimination again. That's 3 already. So at the course of this game, there was a 1-point lead for Josh and Yamzo. Well, that 1-point lead is already gone. Our new first place team here in game number 5 is Peterbot and Pollo. Obviously, we got to see how this one continues to shake out, but they're looking to get aggressive for more eliminations.
The action cam just continues here. Agers, a nice elimination onto Osid. Tough break right there, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Meanwhile, Reed, he's found Golden along the way, and all these duos just fully understanding the fact that if they want to qual towards that EWC land, they're really going to have to start getting active here, and Reed and Cooper with 4 eliminations now. It's a decent amount of points to build up at the starting point, but they also need placement to go with it, Jacob.
Yeah, they need about 56 points just to reach that bubble of where it stands before the game even started. So I kind of agree, eliminations might be the only course of action with how quick some of these games have been going and how chaotic they too tend to get as Agers picks up another elimination along with Ritual. They started this game with 113 points. And Ozone is down next. Again, another bubble team kind of going through it. Agers and Ritual say, hey, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down fighting. And hopefully if we're going to get in, it's because we bulldozed our way into that top spot.
7 eliminations though? Brother, what is going on right now, okay? Because I understand Golden Ozone, they were right there on the cutoff section of the leaderboard, but Agers and Richie, they are just sick of it. They want to force their way into the conversation, and they are taking out this lobby one by one. The points just steadily building in their favor, making it all the more difficult for other teams to actually stay inside that bubble.
Even got Javi and Aminish here, trying to get a little bit more aggressive on Aoxy and Jojo Fishy. Don't think they like the look that they saw here. Aoxy being able to get out, Jojo's healing up. Don't want to put yourself in a 1v2 situation or risk everything here, which you still have some catching up to do, because at the end of the day, Taco, eliminations are fine. It's a good way to catch up, but if you're not placing inside of the top 6, inside of the top 5, all of the eliminations will almost certainly go to waste.
Yeah, and you also have to factor in Jojo Fishy and Aoxy. They were in that 7th place position, tied with Golden and Ozone at 131 points. Well, guess what? Agers and Ritual, sure, they might have been at 113 in 9th place, but because of all their eliminations, they were at 134 points last we checked in. Technically speaking, they are inside of that top 6 currently. and they're looking to just continue trending upwards. It's Kingling and Craze trailing behind Virgo. They don't want to let him escape. They know just how weak he is off the reboot cycle, and they want to make sure that they bring him down for another elimination count.
Oh, this is just horrific for Virgo. He's living through a nightmare right now. And this is where, you bring it back to that mental composure, because if you're Virgo, if you're Aoxy, if you're Ozone, if you're any one of these players that is kind of getting chased around fresh off the reboot, it's easy to start to get down on yourself, especially with your teammates forced to survive for 12 seconds at a time. It's really, really kind of easy to let things kind of go downhill. So interested to see if even Core here get eliminated by Josh again, if they're going to be able to have that mental composure to bounce back into it. Because even Core, along with Lawrence, 104, 11th place coming into the game. They're still within reach from that spot, but getting taken out and getting put on the Rit cycle does things to your mental game.
And Josh Iamzo, recognizing the fact that that elimination feed's been lighting up one time too many with Pete and Pollo's names. They've got to start playing a little bit of catch-up here, taking advantage of Osid off the reboot. That just seems to be the focal point right now for this lobby. Is Reet going to be the next one in line to take out Osid from that reboot cycle? Muzz and Sphinx staring overhead though, looking down at Boltz and Acorn's current position. They have an opportunity here to get aggressive with Acorn and Boltz if they want to, but they are in that third place position currently, Jacob.
Uh-oh. Peterbot and Pollo going head-to-head. Agers is here. I do believe I see Craze as well. King, so that's where you don't want to go down as a full duo, because Craze is knocked and King is eliminated. They tried to get aggressive together, and it does not work out for them here in game number 5, but that's the 5th elimination for the duo of Peterbot and Pollo. And with how well they've been playing so far, they're just ready to take the win off eliminations alone. But Josh and Iamzo again heating up, trying to go toe-to-toe. And then you have Muzz and Sphinx. They have the whole backside of that zone, pushing Acorn and Boltz off, so they get priority over that launch pad. So already seeing fourth zone, a lot of that strategy beginning to reveal itself.
It's just so nasty to think about what Pete and Pollo are able to accomplish when they really set their minds to it, because it's not like Crazy and Kingling or any kind of, incompetent fighters. That is a relatively strong fragger dynamic that they're able to represent, and yet, even up against the likes of Peterbot and Pollo, they don't really have fighting chance they were hoping for. The loadout difference just a little bit too heavy-handed here, but Clix and Higgs, this is a duo that definitely needs to start building up, get the ball rolling, Jacob, because they're starting to fall behind.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we saw in the previous qualifiers is they did send Higgs to go get elimination, so it got me scratching my head just a little bit to switch up the strategy, the lack of aggression from a team that, kind of mentally they're saying that playing with a whole different feel after Major 1. They kind of realize they're putting unnecessary pressure on themselves, so they just want to go out there and just do their thing. And so I want to see them kind of take a page out of some of these other teams' playbook of just getting aggressive. Don't wait till game 7. Don't wait till game 8, because then you almost put yourself in desperation mode.
Hey, but for Reet and Cooper, maybe that's the kind of pressure that they actually need. I mean, think about how their Heats group went. Kelly highlighted it on the desk even. The back-to-back-to-back sequence for those victory royales in their Heats group to get them to fall for this finals in the first place. It all started after those first 3 lobbies, so maybe Magic Hour still yet to strike here as Rapid, Cold dancing around a bit. Cam and Chimp trying to see if they can force Rapid back, but Cold also, of course, always willing to back up his duo. They need metal, though. That's the one thing that this duo is certainly missing. So Rapid recognizing, hey, I just need to take this opportunity to try and refarm some hard material, because they're going to need it, especially with that Cube Rifle's presence.
Yeah, with Cold sitting up above, there's almost no worry for Rapid to get lurked on or get caught off guard by any means. Core gets taken down by Agers again. 7 eliminations for Agers, 9 for the team. And it does look like they're trying to take down Lawrence as well. More than enough time to get Core back in the game. So it won't be a full-on team wipe just yet, but now it would be if Shadow getting that elimination onto Core. That leaves Lawrence by himself. And you can see he has no shield, less than 50 HP overall. So he's definitely hoping and praying he could just last long enough to get his teammate back in the game.
Watching Agers right now, I feel like I'm witnessing a bear exiting hibernation. He is hungry for eliminations right now. Lawrence just brought down at a moment's notice here. 8 in total so far for Agers, 10 combined with Ritual. And the more impressive part still, Jacob, is the fact it didn't come from a cube rifle. It just came from sheer outright aggression and punishing players that are stuck in that reboot cycle.
With most of them being on the core, they take Lawrence down, so they're just kind of freshly out of this game. Veer Noxie, 105, not too far away from where that bubble is at. So you want to have consistent games almost from here on out inside of the top 6. That's where you get half of the placement points. And then from placement 2 through 5, you get 5 points per extra placement instead of 3. And then you get 10 extra for the actual win. And that's where you want to start to be consistent, because we talk about eliminations playing the difference. If you look at the teams inside of the top, it's because of their consistent placement mixed with those elims.
And it's wild to think about the fact that outside of that 19th place finish from the last lobby, Pete and Pollo, they've had first, second on the day otherwise. And so for Josh and Iamzo, they'll have to make sure that they maintain their composure if they want to stay just ahead of Pete and Pollo on that top spot for the leaderboard. Won't be easy though, that's for sure. And with so many lobbies still left to rock through, anything can happen here, Jacob. Things can get flipped upside down at a moment's notice, and that's exactly what Shadow and Virgo are trying to avoid currently. Sneedo and Wagers though, I feel like anytime we spot those guys off in the distance or just looking directly at them, there's always a cube rifle following afterwards.
Yeah, they're just kind of really playing towards the meta, but less than 20 seconds here. Reboots will turn off. You hear the sound, it's counting it down. Cooper down, Shadow down, but at least they get a chance. As long as you're eliminated and respawning before this timer stops here, you have a chance to get back in the game. But you see Core getting eliminated, Chimp getting taken down. Those players will not be rebooting back into this endgame.
I feel so bad for Osid right now, though. His name has been non-stop in that elimination feed, and there is just nothing he can do. All of these competitors are definitely capable of beating somebody out of the sky, especially when they don't really have much of anything to work with. But for Agers and Ritual, things have finally come to a little bit of a lull here. Now looking to play a little bit more reserved. They're trying to prioritize their rotations. They know that they've already got so many elimination points that they just want placement to go with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of been one of the main things that has been ailing the team. Like Agers and Ritual, they have a 5th and a 6th place, a 9th and a 15th. It's just a lack of consistency staying inside of the top as Peterbot does go down. You see Pollo just trying to do what he can from the bottom, but no time to really save the day. So he's going to have to continue doing this one as a solo. So there's 5 eliminations, fine and dandy to take first place back throughout the course of the game. But this is where placement and consistency really separates the first place teams versus everybody else.
Sphinx and Muzz really just sprung up a trap there, though. 4 Pete and Pollo enticed them to go for that aggressive maneuver against Sneedo and Wagers, and instead they were the ones really lying in wait to try and punish the duo. Pollo, fortunately, stuck as a solo now, but Shadow, Virgo from overhead, they've managed to get a little bit of a breather, but they still have a lot of efforts that they're gonna have to try and work around, because Sphinx, Muzz, Ritual, Agers, Acorn Bolts, all of these duos, so many heavy hitters in NA looking to try and overtake on the leaderboard.
Kind of see they just repositioned. They had enough of that cube rifle up above. Pollo just kind of have to do it by himself. But you kind of see the strategy. The lack of shockwaves. He's going to go ahead and use that launch pad, re-pick up the shockwaves. He's going to fizz and try to bypass 8th zone, 9th zone, hopefully land in the 10th zone. Maybe with teams going down, so that way he can start to pick up those placement points. We start to set in inside of the top 15 and ramp up from there. Rapid and Cold, they need it just as well as everybody else. 167 points so far in this game for eliminations. They're doing more than enough to build themselves the confidence, but you can look at their loadout. Empty item slots, 1 pizza, 1 shockwave. They've been fighting for so long here in today's games. They almost have nothing to keep themselves going in the end game.
Can't forget about Higgs and Clicks, though. Trying to make up for lost time. Cube Rifle has managed to send its presence their way. Sneedo Wagers up in the air alongside Pollo. 2 Slapperoni pizzas. If he can just buy himself some time, he might be able to just play from that backside of zone, tank up a little bit of damage, a little bit of those storm takes, the slap slices. But again, Shadow, Virgo, now that they've got this cube rifle, they are looking to try and punish Agers and Ritual on that rotate. And sure enough, they're going to be able to take out Agers. But still, Richie trying to play for the revive. If he pulls this off, that is a huge accomplishment now, because that's just going to keep this potent duo up and running.
Yeah, they don't keep the focus and the pressure on the Aegis and Ritual. So not only is he able to get that revive, but they pop that slurp juice. So in a matter of seconds, it's going to be like he never went down in the first place. And you see them kind of go to the front side of zone. Pressure coming from above, but surprisingly not enough to kind of put players at a desperate hand. Clicks and Higgs, they go ahead and sacrifice some HP to try to get a safe spot in the front side of the zone. Medkits being passed around by Click, so that way they can heal up before they have to do it again. Zone after zone here, still 16 teams still up, so placement points haven't even set in yet with Josh and Bolts going down.
Smart by Clicks and Higgs, though, because right now it's the front side low. That is the priority focus from Shadow and Virgo with that cube rifle. Aegis, Ritual, a little bit of that mid-ground layer, a little bit separated from where some of the congestion is starting to build up, but they are still trying to make it towards front side, and Reed's going to be brought down. 9 eliminations now for Aegis, but the material count still much lower than what they would like it to be. They're going to continue to wrap around here. They want to see if they can take over another front side position, but it's Higgs and Clicks on the other scope of things. And looking back, looking forward, they see Veer. They're not going to be able to take him out just yet, though.
Yeah, they stay off that ultimate low ground layer. That little bit of a hill is going to allow them to kind of keep their feet clean from underneath, but they're expending more builds, the extra layer of protection. Boy, I almost forgot he was still having a solo clutch in this game. Max Pizza's being used, still 6 more in the back pocket, but he's being pressured and pushed outside of the zone, but no worries for him. Instantly answers the pressure in that moment, but he does look like he's going to run into trouble. Cold and Rapid as well. Rapid is going to go down, which leaves Cold all by himself, but it almost leaves you no worries. We know what Cold is capable of.
At the same time, though, Cold, he doesn't really have a whole lot of builds to work with. Only 6 and a Dream. Maybe if he can take out Cooper, that bit of Siphon materials could make a difference. But still, Cooper recognizing those footsteps, giving away Cold's position. He'll be left scrambling underneath, just trying to keep the movement as swifty as possible. First, he's got to see if he can line it up. Havoc going to be brought down. No, just barely managing to escape, and so Cold has to look elsewhere. But Cold, no matter what he does, he just can't find that full knock, and he needs it now more than ever. A refresh to just continue extending his placements, and sure enough, Yamzo just in the nick of time, but Cold, he might have drawn a little bit too much attention here because he'll be cleaned up by Clicks.
Yeah, half of the placement points now inside of the top 6. They're still fighting for 30 more. 5 teams remain. At least they all have somebody by themselves. Aegis drops down from above. Double-digit eliminations by himself. He's taking Storm Sickness ticks. He's going to fall. Rituals now have to be by himself. He has 4 different pizzas. He has the Shockwave. He has the Mythic Pistol. And it's all solos left alive.
1v1, and this is where Richie can really try to shine here. Can he lock this one down for himself and Aegis? They've opened up the doorway. They've really tried to make a difference here, but they're not going to be able to break through, and Ritual can't escape it. Jojo, on the other hand, looking down at Noxy. This is all he needs, a single pump shot. If he gets the max here, that'll be the end of it. But Jojo, he's hunting. He has no more builds. Noxy might be able to take over with the advantage. Overdrive grenade up, but he's blocked off. Noxy just continuing to open up, playing it safe. The edge just making it so problematic here. See if we're going to use that Flow Brave Fizz to play it extra safe, but he misses on the... Both of them are exchanging whips, and still it's Jojo Fishy who manages to bring this one
I'm
home.
sorry
But for
he
a
not supposed to
moment,
win that.
Jacob, you really had to wonder who was going to connect first.
Oh,
He not supposed to win
my
that.
God. Those are those photo finish moments. He fizzes at the last
He
second, flows
fucking
down.
missed,
It was a
bah.
huge disadvantage because of
Wow.
that, but he still figures out a way to make the play. And for Yoxi, Jojo Fishy, a team inside of the bubble, Zeke, that was huge.
Jacob, I completely agree. Okay, why do we keep having these games that, again, I'm like, the moment that 1v1 happens, I hold my breath and it goes on for like 30 seconds. I'm about to pass out. Either way, Aoxy, Jojo Fishy comes down to, in case you missed it, it was all solos. 5 players running around. Jojo Fishy finds the victory royale here. And like Jacob calls out, right, Kelly, the fact that this is a team that was right on the bubble, right? This is a team looking to fight for one of those 2 spots. This is massive, especially with 3 games to go. Kelly, this is momentum.
Whew, I can only imagine the breath that was held for Aoxy and JoJo there, with JoJo on height as a solo, but everyone else being a solo as well. He gets a little confident. He drops down to the low ground to fight Noxy, or Aoxy, or Noxy, I should say. But Noxy actually trades spots and is able to take height away from him, and then it looked like that was Noxy's game to win. But JoJo and Noxy just trading whiff after whiff, and then it finally came down to JoJo in the final moment there. Vivid. I don't know if even Noxy and JoJo knew who was going to win in those final moments.
Super close there. The winning moment had to have been when JoJo, of course, ran out, picked up some mats to go ahead and support him for that little bit of time that he needed. Obviously, the whiffs towards the end right there, they're going to help out immensely, but staying composed, making sure that you hit your shots is what's going to close that game out. And listen, I don't want to spoil anything, but I know what the leaderboard was looking like for this duo going into that game, and it keeps things exciting.
You know, Viv, that's the thing, right? That's the thing is I know a little something, but we got to go to a break, okay? First, a break. When we come back, we got to look at these standings. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss it. We'll see you in a second. You don't want to miss it.
Teammates have his back. There's Nash. Gets the drop on Marius. Stays alive. They're targeting out Vanya. 3v1.
Welcome back. Stress levels through the roof. Quality of games today through the roof. We're having a great time today in the Real Elite Series. Oh my gosh, Aoxy, JoJo Fishy find a victory royale in a game that ends with 5 solos. Chaos, pandemonium. It's going crazy here. Now, we had talked about Aoxy and JoJo Fishy being on the bubble before. Take a look. We are still on the bubble. I think what's interesting here though, Kelly, is now we've created a situation where Cold and Rapid and Muzz and Sphinx, players who have already qualified, are now almost like surrounding us. So as long as we keep up what we're doing, we can't drop out.
That's true for Shadow's team and Aoxy's team. If you look down to Agers and Ritual, they're only 13 points away from them. So still within that contention, there's still a lot of opportunities for our teams in this top 10 to jump into those LAN qualifying spots. But I gotta talk about Agers there. What an incredible solo run. Actually, let's shift focus onto Shadow and Virgo, because this is one of the duos that we're watching that definitely seems like they have punched their ticket into LAN, but we do still have two more games to go. But if we get to see them controlling high ground like what we did in the last game, Vivid, I can imagine that they're going to make their way to LAN.
What's popping up? We've seen them try to go ahead and, you know, maintain the high ground in past games. Unfortunately, in some of those other games, they did not have the cube rifle. Here in game number 5, though, they did, and you can see they found a lot more success, right? Able to go ahead and find their best placement of the day, their most eliminations in a single game throughout the day. 3rd place with 6 eliminations. Now, of course, they're doing very, very good, but one of the other teams who has the opportunity to go ahead and overtake them as one of those qualifying teams, because the leaderboard is so close, is of course going to be Agers and Ritual. And we tune in with these guys, and this big pop-off game for them right there, and why they were able to surge up the leaderboard so much, was just on the back foot of all of these eliminations. I mean, we tuned into these guys at like, it was like 10th, 11th zone, and Agers had 8 eliminations already. We were like, what the heck? They ended with 14 total in a 15th place, so definitely their best game of the day as well.
And that's also after Rituals revived Agers. So to be able to do that, to get even more points, I mean, to be able to get the revive off, and then he's able to solo clutch, I mean, Zeke, that is what you need in these final moments.
Fortnite is delivering here in NAC. We are ready to jump into game number 6. Only 3 games left to go. The goal, to end in the top 2. Casters, take it away.
Honestly, to start the day, Taco, I was sit back, I was relaxed. Each and every game passes, I get more and more closer to the edge of my seat, and it kind of shows that's what's happening in these games. Game number 1, we saw kind of a lack of aggression, sending your one individual player out to try to get elims. As each and every game has gone on, specifically that last one, we're seeing players realize what's at stake and taking destiny into their own hands, and we'll see right now if that continues, Taco. Game number 6 is ready, and so is the second half of the tournament.
Look, all that matters at this stage of the game, Jacob, is just going for those big point games, because some of these teams that are outside of that top 7 area is really what I'm keeping an eye towards. And they're the ones that have really they gotta start hustling. And they need to hustle expeditiously, because the lobby is not waiting for them. Lawrence and Osid, after the slugfest they had to endure in the last lobby, just being victimized the entire time off the reboot cycle, they definitely want to turn things around here in this 6th lobby, Jacob. And that first opening elimination could help out, but not if Golden's able to catch Lawrence off guard here. Quick response, quick reflex. Now maybe Osid has another chance. Try and back up his duo, but he's gonna look to try and charge forward against Ozone, and instead Golden and Ozone now just sending each other right overhead as Golden stares down Osid. But Lawrence, he'll be left to his own devices. This is a rough spot to be in.
Yeah, it's almost a necessary evil for Core. He has to fend for himself. That's going to be Lawrence, and it's going to be a game-saving play, because if he does go down, you see why it came to fruition. And yes, Lawrence will get dropped. Golden and Ozone defend their actual spot, kind of sending Core elsewhere, and that means Core is going to have to stay alive just long enough for him to get his teammate back into the game. I hope they don't get hunted down, because that's what we're seeing. Players chase the reboots out of the sky, and that's something that we're seeing really play a role. Agers and Ritual in that last game, we kind of saw them pick up, 14 eliminations, and now they're only 13 points outside of that bubble. With 3 games to go, they still have control of their own destiny here, as it looks like they're getting another elimination opportunity on to Jojo Fishy. Cube Rifle stopping him from running away. Ritual is still putting pressure on the other side, but this is where he's going to start to build up. That gives them a chance, because they're stationary, to fight back.
All that Ritual
Being
Eliminators
shot.
want that. They want the full elimination. They want to take out Aoxy and JoJo Fishy at the same time because that's just a duo that's inside of the bubble, and if they don't have to worry about them, it makes it all the easier to play catch up and overcome. But we'll have to settle for only one half of the duo. Josh Niamzo also duking it out with Liam currently. Jace and Liam have definitely been more on the receiving end of a lot of aggression here today, but Josh and Niamzo, just another duo. They've been on fire all day long, but finally gonna get burnt out here by Jace and Liam. The tag team effort is gonna bring down Josh Riley, and that might just be enough for Niamzo to want to head the other direction.
Man, Josh really feeling himself. You saw that one elimination he had on him. He took down Peterbot early, and once you take down Peterbot, you kind of think everybody else should be easy, but it's not always going to be the case, especially kind of in a 2v1 situation as we see Rapid and Cold hearing all of the noise, and now they're lurking on over. Liam, Jace, they go and hit one of those launch pads, and that might have been the best move they can make. They might not have known Rapid was lurking on them, but they have certainly escaped at least one of them going down.
And Rapid will have to give up that pursuit for right now. Then again, spots out alone Niamzo. And it's been long enough here for Josh Riley to play catch up, but Rapid not exactly the healthiest either. He's gonna need some white eels. And if he doesn't find them sometime soon or get a siphon, he's gonna be cooked and have to depend on the reboot most likely. Will at least box up, potentially just to try and protect his loot so he can land back down on where his body was at, but that is a little bit tragic for the opening stretch of this game.
He really did. He boxed himself up, but I don't know how many people noticed. If you look at the mini-map on the right, he literally looked straight down and marked the spot. So when he does get rebooted, he's right back into his loadout. He doesn't have to search for scrap. So, hey, sometimes it's the necessary evil when you're playing like Cold and Rapid have been playing so far in this game. Sometimes you just get a little bit over-aggressive with no HP. Peterbot Poyo trying to do the same thing. This time, though, Peterbot does find success. Fresh off the reboot, from getting taken down by Josh Riley off of that last exchange, and now they're just continuing to go on the hunt.
Well played, Peterbot and Poyo. An interesting stat, though, that Vivek kind of brought up in that in-between break segment, Jacob, was the fact that they had built up, what, like 203 points or so to start the day off in those first three lobbies, and then things just kind of came to a bit of a breaking point for them because they've only gotten like 30 points since, and largely off of their eliminations versus placements. Even Poyo in that last lobby, he just barely squeezed out that 15th place position, but it was really their 6 eliminations as a duo that helped carry them a little bit more forward to try and stay in contention there with Josh Niamzo.
Sometimes, you know, you look at the aggression coming out from some of these players, and it's like, man, you see why they're the best, but you also now are seeing why, you know, they might be getting taken down early. The early game aggression is leading them to use resources and materials in a much faster pace than you kind of would normally have. You see EWC, and this is the thing I love about Reload. We see so many different items, loadouts, the exotic slapberry, the mythic goldfish, and now we have the mythic hammock pump, one of the few shotguns in the game right now that can actually one pump players down. It just has a slower loadout time. Is going to be the drawback for that mythic.
It's definitely been a very tumultuous day, though, for Aminish and Javi. Loadouts aside, weapons aside, they just don't have that many points to work with. And with only 3 games remaining here, Jacob, they are really going to have to put on an excellent performance if they want to try and play any means of catch-up. But ultimately, it's still a building experience for this duo. And more importantly still, gotta make sure that they are wary of the fact that there might still be other duos kind of lurking inside of the storm with them. Jace and Liam, 3 eliminations already. They wouldn't mind playing spoiler to somebody else.
Yeah, I would love to see Jace and Liam just kind of get aggressive. We've seen so many other teams get aggressive onto them, and now they're kind of doing it right back. Fizz plus Shockwave. It's very hard to hear the audio. I'm not sure Zavi got the clue until it might have been too late. Luckily for him, not too much damage being landed onto him early on in this fight. Getting into the constants, continue to run away. Now his teammate, Aminish, has backtracked, trying to make this a full-on 2v2 fight. Liam immediately goes up from one player to the next, just trying to keep them guessing, but Javi, he shockwaves up, landing some damage onto Liam, but he's still not going down easy. Great shots being fired back to answer onto Aminish, even tries to box him up, but luck gets cut a little bit too short, runs out of ammo, forced to delay the fight.
Decent cone block there, though. There's Liam dancing around. Javi, a Minish, trying to see if they can find an angle. All they really need is the HP exchange. So far, they haven't really been able to pack enough of a punch, and now you've got to deal with Agers and Ritual on the hunt, ready to third-party the action here. We already saw Agers with 10 eliminations by himself in that last lobby, Jacob. Will he do it again?
I mean, he is by himself here, has 2 eliminations. The pizza for the just in case. Sees Ritual in the distance, realizing, hey, I have 21 HP. I got to play this one a little safe instead of popping out the whole slapperoni pizza for just HP. That's exactly why he closed the distance to him and Ritual, knowing the extra resource was there. But Ager so far in today's games, Taco, he has been the difference maker. He's been the controller. He's been the guy that is kind of imposing his will on a lot of the other teams in the lobby.
He's still holding those duos at bay. Despite the fact that he pulled back momentarily, that doesn't mean that he can't re-aggress at any given moment. Bolts, Acorn, on the other hand, might be looking to try and get into a little bit of a fight here. Veer and Noxy. And Bolts, Acorn, fully aware of the fact that 144 points, that's just not going to cut it. They need big placement, big endgame finish, or at the very least, some eliminations to start making up for those extra little bits of points. Even with NA having 4 of its representatives running it back in this third Reload Elite Series final, Jacob, the point still stands that Bolts and Acorn, they are not inside of that bubble.
And they're not as close, I feel like, as you kind of would hope to be. I'd be 62 or so points down to start this game, which is essentially a whole victory royale while hoping your teammates kind of get 0 points in this game. So it's not going to be overthrown in this one here. It's going to take the course of the remaining of games to try to come back for Acorn and Bolts. As we jump on board Josh and Yamzo, first place coming into this game by 10 points. But again, you see the proactivity coming out of Peterbot and Poyo for Josh and Yamzo. They're not necessarily going punch for punch here. They're just hoping that their consistency so far in today's game is going to be enough to get that first place.
Hey, check out Rapid, though. A little bit of an awkward spot to be in. Having to play the med kit probably a little bit sooner than he'd been intending. Was really trying to see if he could build up that siphon off the elimination from Minish, but these teams kind of just holding each other. And then fighting inside of a 2-tick, Jacob. This is where time is really of the essence. Cold also having been brought down by Liam and Jace now puts Rapid into an even more awkward spot because he can't afford to lose out on this exchange with Avi and a Minish, but he's gonna have a weakened duo flying in beside him soon enough, and we're approaching that 7-zone period, sure, but even worse still, you're trying to recover all the material, you're trying to recover your loadouts, and your duo has nothing to work with.
Yeah, so even though he did get time for Cold to reboot, exactly what you're saying. Cold still has to find a spot that's safe enough to drop down, and they're officially on the clock, even though Cold already on the reboot. 45 seconds here. Zone gonna be closing, reboot's gonna be turning off from a Minish to Javi. Rapid's running into consecutive players on the same team. And I do think a Minish kind of closed the gap, so he's actually going to be there close by. Cold, fresh off the reboot yet again. Third time might be the charm here, Taco.
But even if he touches down, just knowing how grim that loadout is going to be, Cold just barely managing. No, I spoke a little bit too soon. Cold will not be able to actually make it out of that reboot cycle just yet. And only 15 seconds remain. When that 7th zone hits, the reboots will be disabled, so Cold is going to reboot just in time for the lobby to potentially eliminate him for good.
Luckily, Javi gets freshly eliminated there with seconds to go before the reboot's disabling, but now nobody has the chance to come back into this game because reboots have officially been disabled. We see a couple players gliding into the sky, a Minish, he's gonna get knocked, leaving Javi by himself. Our first solo player left in this game right now is gonna be Javi, but I'm sure that's not gonna be the only one for long.
Look at Veer and Noxy just supplying steady pressure over towards P and Poyo. They're gonna opt to actually wrap around this little cliff face, provides them some extra cover away from that cube rifle aggression. Smart play, but there are other teams kind of following that same path as Pete, Poyo. They're taking shots at Noxy right in front of them, but they've got to keep an eye out for the teams that are directly behind them. Veer still looking to escape though, and Pete Pollo will be brought to a bit of a standstill.
Yeah, I like that call not to tunnel vision there from Pete and Pollo. You said it yourself, teams still rotating in behind them. Teams parallel next to them, both above and below. So it's not going to be a free fight there if they were to try to take it. Rapping Cold. Back into the game. We had our questions, what they would have, and honestly, it's a minuscule amount of resources in terms of heals and materials. You see a huge chunk of shield missing from both of those players. So they're almost a necessity here to find an elimination here late in the game as JoJo Fish is just getting tagged up because he shockwave from point A to point B. It's a great way to move distance quickly, Taco, but it leaves you open to tags just like that.
Also leaves you susceptible towards that cube rifle focus. I think that's the main thing that these duos playing more towards the high ground are really trying to keep an eye out for. Pete and Pollo, though, they've taken out Ruins, and that's going to be a devastating mark for his duo. Two teams already fully eliminated here, but it is still a really stacked lobby. Placement points still yet to be apart as Veer, Noxy have a little bit of success. Refresh onto Havoc, but so many other teams just kind of knocking on the door here. You can never really sit still for more than a second. You've got to keep moving forward. You don't want to get caught inside the congestion from the backside of zone, especially not with Pete Pollo still lingering about, and it's going to be Kingaling who's brought down next. Pete and Pollo just continuing to rack up the eliminations.
Yeah, this is the team that you were talking about that was right next to them. They quickly rotate on out. Peter Pollo get an elimination. Quickly get out of dodge. It's Cold and Rapid again. Another speed bump in their road, but they have not stopped their journey. They're still figuring out a way to get right back on up. 16 teams still up. So at least one more team needs to go down for placement points start to set in and cascade there even further with each and every team that does go down. So for Shadow and Virgo, even though they're the first place team in terms of players that have not qualified yet, it's only a 12-point gap between them and the next best team.
At this point, almost feels like Cold and Rapid, they're just hoping to try and pick up the leftovers from some of these bodies that are getting dropped here. But Cold, he won't be able to play alongside Rapid any longer. He has no materials to work with either. There's a duo directly behind him, but Veer, Noxy, they might not be all that healthy. Spinks, though, not even recognizing the fact that Cold is just sitting.
Oh my god.
With it, the cube rifle. Muzz didn't know which way to look. He wasn't sure which direction that cube rifle blast actually came from, and that was everything for Cold. A full slapperoni pizza, an overdrive grenade. You give Cold an inch, he'll take the full mile.
Literally more than half of the materials here in this game. Cole getting a pick-me-up.
Why, kid?
Why
Peter Butt on high gun then?
Placement points being granted all around, but there's 4 players running around as solos, and now they're running in Peter Butt and Boyer, putting immense amount of pressure from above. He has the SMG, gonna certainly burst through the build, but the cube rifle yet again, almost catching Pete off guard, dropping him down to about 50 HP.
You always gotta be cautious of where these cube rifles coming from, but JoJo, EWC, doing everything they can, try and torp through secondary height position. Cold as a solo, still managing to send things forward here. Pushed himself directly towards that front side, be able to look back, has a slapperoni pizza to the slices, buying him that little bit of extra HP. Shadow and Virgo as a duo now looking to collect. Acorn nearly brought down, but Shadow, he'll just immediately disengage, drop all the way down to ultimate low, wants to stick directly next to Virgo's side.
Yeah, I like the decision to not get greedy there in that situation, trying to get the elimination on the Acorn. There's a huge strength in numbers, and they know it. Veer's not going to be able to show that one, though, because Noxy does go down, leaving him by himself. Yamzo as well. Josh is trying to cause a huge amount of commotion in the backside of the zone, try to pick up some sort of elimination. Back and forth he goes. Needs the Siphon, doesn't get it. Him and Yamzo will go down, which leaves Peter Bot and Pollo, a team on top of the leaderboard with a chance to take first place back.
Looks like they found a way to kind of replicate that magic from earlier here today, but Shadow...
It's still alive?
With 63 builds. They are dwindling so rapidly. He's got 2 full Flowberry Fizzes, but can he get a breather to actually utilize them? Agers finding yet another elimination here. That's going to be 4 to count right now between him and Ritual. But Cole, the amount of placement point that he's actually been able to accrue. Finally, other teams are starting to look at his way, but Cole turns it around onto Veer
He's
almost
still alive.
immediately.
Oh my.
And now he'll have options, but they're directly shut down because of Agers and Ritual
Well,
steamrolling over him.
Look who's left in this game right now, Taco. I believe all 3 teams that are
Oh,
both
heads right
inside and
there.
outside of that bubble. JoJo and Ayashi sacrificing just enough HP to try to get the Elim, but they slide their way into their demise. Ayashi was the only one with the med kits. He's just trying to bypass the chaos and get anything for his efforts. Placement points, but I think he might have been spotted out by Peterbot. Klig's still down below along with Higgs as
Peterbot,
well.
stop.
Almost all solos running around. Peterbot and
You
Polo
not
might
need
be the
this.
only duo left in this game that is in a driver's position, ready to put their pedal to the metal and try to take this first place here.
Head.
And Agers doing
Damn,
what he can
heads.
to see if he can bring down Higgs, but the problem is he's got to worry about Peterbot with that mythic SMG from overhead, just non-stop spraying his builds, forcing Agers to try and take the fight to him instead. But now Agers Higgs gonna clash directly on that low ground tier. Pete just waiting for the perfect opportunity. He knows he's coming to collect Higgs, the only one left standing between this next victory royale and Peterbot.
Game
Polio in
of
a
full
very
heads.
similar fashion to the starting point of today,
fucking
have
dot.
now found their second
Damn.
victory royale on the day.
Yeah, congratulations.
I not
to
want
them.
to
They
hate,
already
but
have their spot secured. It's basically just a victory lap
They
for
dominated
them. But
KD
Agers and
kids.
Ritual, Aoxy pulling
Maybe
up,
I'm missing
Shadow and
something. I
Virgo.
feel like
this is turning into a very
die
interesting
will-
tournament. A battle for
will
first,
not
a
be
battle
OD, but
for the championship.
way
Zeke,
more
who
than
do you
hate.
got?
I mean, I don't know yet. I'm waiting to see the standings, Jacob, but I like that you call this out, right? I feel like after a few games, Peter and Poy were like, you know what? Why are we not in first place? What are we doing here? We should go ahead and take that back, shouldn't we? Yeah, we should. Okay, let's do that. Like, finally, we see them come back alive. We've kind of had some rough games for the duo, but Kelly, when they've got height, when they've got the resources and the materials, cube rifles, sometimes they don't even need it. They can win in a commanding position like this. So I'm not surprised, but man, they really want that #1 spot.
I feel like I can predict just based off of gameplay, if I didn't see anyone's names or if anyone skins, just who is holding high ground. It's going to be Peterbot and Pollo. They control, they condition high ground, as we like to say, so confidently that no one even tries to fight for it. Yeah, sure, people are shooting up, people are trying to chop them, but no one's trying to steal height away when it's Peterbot and Pollo on high ground. And they showed that at the start of the tournament today, and they're showing it again in game number 6, that when they hold high ground, they do it so well. And honestly, a lot of solos on the low ground may have been able to grab more eliminations, but right now the name of the game is surviving and making it to the end game, and to be the only duo to do that, Vivid, is just going to push them higher and higher up the leaderboard.
Yeah, obviously the guys have been on a tear throughout the day, right? Ping-ponging between first and second place, but constantly finding themselves towards the top of the leaderboard. But I gotta say, I feel like that game right there felt like the cleanest one that we have seen throughout the day so far. You know, we kind of mentioned in some of those second places that they were able to pick up earlier, that they weren't really finding their refreshes. But as you can see here throughout this end game, if you kind of tune in, you know, they had 5 eliminations kind of going into 12th zone, and they ended the game with 10. So they were actually able to pick up pretty much all of the eliminations that they needed. They kept their refreshes going. They kept finding the materials they needed to continuously build up on the higher ground. And I love the fact that Zeke pointed out, this was without the cube rifle. They are still a duo, again, that has found success on the higher ground without weapons like that. They know how to apply pressure without it, and they just showcased it right there in game number 6.
Disgusting work from Peterbot and Pollo. Yeah, I mean, if you, the graphics show the point threshold, and you know, that's fine. We're gonna talk more about this when we come back from a break. 2 games left to go. Maybe don't spoil it. Ooh. 2 games left to go. We'll see you right after this short break. Don't you go anywhere.